Hello and welcome back to the GorillaBiker. I'm just riding around today, really. But I wanted to talk about something, and it's something that I've been asked a few times since I made the, this is the Kawasaki Z900RS, a good like track bike video. Because I mentioned about power, in the video that it didn't have as much as I would have liked. I don't know why I wrote in there. I was just kind of coming up this way, but I was dodging traffic lights, doing right turns, It's kind of the only way to go, really, is just dodge all of the right turns. I don't really know where to go, to be honest, because a lot of the roads around here are very repetitive. We'll see. Let's go in past Food Line and see if we find anything interesting. Sometimes there's people having screaming matches in the petrol station down here. I've witnessed that once or twice. But yeah, so I want to talk about the power question, because a couple of people reached out and were like, you mentioned that it's on a power, but you've never really had like a super bike or anything, and I haven't. And we'll talk about that as well. It's it's not that I don't want a super bike. It's just that I've never really been able to afford one. They're very expensive on average. I'll never get sick of that noise. Yeah, let's go. I don't know how this is gonna sound, but let's go this way and see what we can. Oh, actually, I think I might be able to sneak into some roadworks up here. Depending on if it says like no trespassing. If it does, we'll just keep going. It's a green light. It's a green turn light there, folks. Road closed. I mean, is it though? There's always Polythea around here, so I don't even want to risk it. I mean, it looks like it could be open to me, so I'm saying. I'm literally just back from watching a Jake the Garden Snake video that I'm gonna talk about in another video, but I'm not gonna do the just riding in places he does, because I'm on a visa, unfortunately. So we're just gonna ride through here. I mean, we're skipping the red light anyway, so it all works out. I hate red lights. I hate waiting at traffic lights. It's got to be a better way, It's just, there has to be. But yes, anyway, so the power thing, and I mean, it's not that complicated for me, in that my road bikes, I've had the Phaser, which was about 100 brake horsepower. I have had the CBF, more recently the CBF, which is about 100 brake horsepower. I've had this, which was about 100 brake horsepower. Those are have been my daily bikes for, I mean, the Phaser I had for 5, the CBF for 2. I've already had this one for what, a year and a half. I wanted to go left here. I am going to go left here, but we do have to wait at the light this time. Bit of brake practice. I do love braking. It's my favorite. Heavy braking. It's always been fun to me. More so than like going really fast in a straight line. Which also kind of actually feeds into this video accidentally. That just happened. But and I understand where people are like surprised that I said, oh, the Z900 wasn't fast enough for the track. And it's interesting because it kind of ties in. I don't know if there's anyone else listening to the High Side Low Side podcast, but Zach Quartz does it with, or Spurge. I think I always forget his name. I don't want to say it's an odd name, but it's an odd name. I think it's like Spurgeon. I could be saying it wrong. They're like the Revzilla guys, but they do a podcast called High Side Low Side, and I listen to it when I'm driving to work sometimes, which is sacrilege, listening to a bike podcast in a dirty car. But I mean, you've all seen my my commute, and it really is incredibly boring. So, can you blame me? Whee! But I know, that they were also talking about it, and I think they both said, a really good level of power for a road bike was around about 80 brake horsepower. And you know, I was thinking about it. I absolutely can't disagree with them. For me, it's obviously been around about the 100 brake horsepower. I have never felt on a road or on a road trip that this bike, the CBF or the Phaser, were underpowered. You know, totaling just alone there, like what, 8.5 years riding on my daily bikes, say. And I cannot complain. I cannot complain about the power that any of these bikes have or have had. You know, it's always been enough. It's always been enough for me. So I did really agree with them. However, you know, they were mentioning like 80 brake horsepower and lightness, and I think the reason I generally go for slightly more power is obviously I'm a very large human. So town. I don't know where the hell I am. I've never been down this road, even though it's like right near me. I'm gonna go right, because oh, this is cool. What is this? I've seen this. I meant to drive into it so many times, but I never have. I like it. Leasing office open. You can probably lease the shitty apartments. Not that apartments are shitty, it's just I wouldn't personally want to live in one. I don't like apartments. I just don't. But that is cool as hell. And this video has been a lesson in why Michael can't think for like 5 seconds, because I just can't. Some days, you know, if my brain is tired, it's like no, you want to talk about a subject, but you can't. But yeah, so to recap, get back to it. Yes, I did make that comment about, you know, the Z not having enough power, which I stand by. I genuinely think it could have a lot more power for the track. However, for the street, the Z has plenty of power in its current modifications. You know, like this bike is about 100 brake horsepower. I can't remember exactly, and honestly I never use it. I think I rarely rev above 6. Yeah, I'm gonna say 6. Very, very rarely. And if I do rev above 6, it's because I'm doing bold stuff that you don't really need to do on the road, whereas on the track, yeah, the Z obviously just feels like it could have a little bit more juice. Obviously it was topping out, I think, around 130 miles an hour. I didn't have the GoPro on the bike. I had the Osmo Action on the bike, and you know, it felt like it just needed a little bit more gusto. It got to 110 very quick, but after that it just kind of slowed down. But I'm going to take a photo of the bike and then we can get back on the road. I've always said, you know, like dream bike, Tuono V4 or something like that, but I mean, at the same time, I don't think it's in any way necessary to have the power that a Tuono V4. Oh, look at that chain, it's so clean and gold. I cleaned that chain literally for my birthday because I wanted it to be clean. So I did it myself, and now it's nice and clean. There's nothing like a nice clean gold chain. I love gold chain. Not a gold chain on your bike. You know, why even have a chain on your bike, you know? Waste of time. But you know, I think in the grand scheme of things, on the street, more power, and I'll try to get a dyno map of the V-Strom and put it on screen now, because like if you look at where I'm using the power, if I'm only ever revving like where I'm revving right now, which is more than enough for low speed. And even when I'm accelerating, which is, again, I out accelerate pretty much everything on the road, that, you know, 6,000 revs max is enough. That'll tell you how much power you actually generally use as a rider, which honestly is not very much. You know, to kind of not beat around the bush, it's really not very much. Now I do think, you know, there is a like the Goldilocks zone. You know, like Zach Quartz and Spurgeon mentioned, you know, you don't want too little, because of course when you have like a really small amount, you do have to rev it up all the time. You can't really just like ride. So for instance, like right now I'm just riding the torque, You know, I'm obviously not needing to use power. We're not going very fast. When did that happen? That was quick. I'm impressed. Disconcerted. But yeah, but you don't need to use the power, you know, on this bike to kind of do pretty much every road legal speed on the track. Would this be lacking? Absolutely, no doubt about it. And you know, I've been speaking to a lot of people recently, and they're like, well, what track bike would you like? And I personally, I would love an R1, but a lot of them are dogged, and I know a couple of friends who've had accidents off R1s on the track. Probably not the bike's fault or anything, probably just a bad luck or whatever. Obviously R1s are very reliable bikes in general, but I think for me, I would currently go for a ZX-10R. Just because I always liked ZX-10R, and you know, Monkey Butt has one, and I sat on his one, and it was actually surprisingly comfortable for a gentleman of my dimensions. So I would definitely give that a go, just because I think that would be, and here's the thing, right? So I do fully agree with the statement. It is very fun to ride like a slow bike fast. It is, and it's not that much fun to ride a fast bike slow, which I completely agree with. You know, around city streets and whatnot, riding a fast bike slow kind of sucks. You know, the Falco that I used to have, while it was not a particularly super fast bike, that thing was geared that on the Autobahn it was comfortably just sitting at 240, 250 kilometers an hour, comfortably. And had more to give, but I was not comfortable doing that. You know, we're gonna have to do a little turn on red here. I'm not waiting for lights. No thank you, because oftentimes I don't pick up bikes. So, and you know, the Falco, like really low down, was a little bit more of a pain to ride like really slow. Whereas this thing is just such a nice balance, because it's very nice slow, and also it does fast absolutely fine as well. Alright, I'm going to go then. There's a local garden centre. Nice little pretty flowers. Everything in America is laid out in these grid patterns, which for efficiency is great and all, but it's very boring. It's very boring. Very boring for me and for the viewers home. But I don't think I've ridden down here before for you guys. Obviously I have been down here, so I'll just show it to you. Do you know? Terrorize the locals. It's closed. I don't know what's in there. Oh, they're doing baseball or something. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of, and it's a really simple answer, you know. I don't need to go on forever about it. I think that there is a kind of a Goldilocks zone. I do agree with Zach and Spurgeon that you know, 80 to 100, and I'm going to say to 120 is a really nice amount. Like the Z900, if Ivan's performance tune maps are as accurate as I feel they probably are, see, there you go, that's all. I didn't even go past 5 there. I think I went like 4.5. And you know, I'm already doing all of the speed that I kind of would want to be doing. You know, this definitely is that Goldilocks zone. The Z, like I said, sorry, ZZ900RS. You know, that's currently sitting at 100, and again, like if Ivan's performance would be believed, about 100 and call it 15, and that's absolutely fine for the street. But like, oftentimes you wouldn't want to rev it out too much, because it is like a pretty fast bike. That's pretty, isn't it? That's pretty. But yeah, I mean, this is, all joking aside, and I'm going to make an update video on this soon. This is probably my favorite daily bike I've ever owned, from every aspect. with the tall seat that Ian sent me. Again, Ian, I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. You've made this bike so much more pleasurable to live with than it may have otherwise been. So I do really, really appreciate that. I cannot stress that enough. You know, from the practicality now that I have these Hepco and Becker boxes, and again, shout out to them, they sent those to me and they've held up phenomenally well. I think there's like about 15,000 miles on those boxes now, and I never bother taking them off just because it's handy. And yeah, I mean, it's just really nice to ride. I've never looked for more power. I've never really looked for more brakes. I might do some suspension work on it soon. It's quite divey on the front, always kind of has been divey for me, but you know, I've been 2 up on this with Toaster, you know, in around Charlotte, like going in pretty fast traffic, never had plenty of power. A 6th gear would pull up to digits that I probably shouldn't say out loud with her on the back, that to get around traffic and whatnot. For the road, this is genuinely all I need. Would I get a Tuono V4? I can't say my usual word for that, but it involves the Pope, and it involves a photo book of children that aren't his, and the answer is yes. We'll put it that way. People who know me probably know what I'm referring to. But yeah, this bike it's all the power I need. It really is, and you know, I do get where the questions came from. Like I said, you know, I've always kind of extolled that I don't really ever require anything that's mega powerful, but definitely for the track, and it's a competitive thing, you know what I mean? You want to go as fast as other people, and the Z, as much fun as it is, and I love the Z, it is my favorite bike that I currently own here in person. Obviously the Magna at home, I'd need to ride them side by side to decide which one I prefer, but over here, yeah, the Z is my favorite bike. It's the bike I would go to just for fun, and it's great. It's very fun on the track. It's just, it's not what I would call competitive. So yeah, a ZX-R, ZX-10R, something like that is hopefully in my future. But the price of used bikes over here that are 20 to 16 years old, or 16 to 20 years old, ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. Like people that have 28,000, 35,000 miles on them, and be asking, you know, $5,000-$6,000 for them. I'm like, they come from an era when bikes were cheaper, and there's a lot of work to be done, you know, like just to run through it. You know, you're gonna have to look at front wheel bearings, you're gonna have to probably look at fork seals, fork fluid, because no one does those. Brake lines, you know, you're gonna probably want to look at your swing arm bearings and all that, your rear wheel bearings, rear brake lines. No one ever does that stuff, you know what I mean? That's stuff that just gets ignored all the time. Pretty much every used bike I've ever bought, including the Z over here, brake fluid has never been touched, and it was like, when I bought it, it was 4 years old. Like, yeah, 15, I think I bought it with like 14,000 miles, it's 15 and a bit now, and like, you know, never had brake fluid change. It has now. I don't know how old the brake pads were. The chain is fine, in fairness, and it's still probably stock. So just stuff like that though is you, and that was 4 years old. If you're buying a bike that's 16 to 20 years old, I'm rambling. That maybe needs to be another video. But yeah, so why I stated I would like more power from the Z, just because for the track it would make me more competitive. And when I say competitive, I mean competitive with myself. You know, I kind of want to improve, and while I definitely have room for improvement on the Z, I do feel that I'm close to where I'm comfortable pushing that bike. Me personally pushing it, not the bike pushing me, because I don't want to wreck it. It is a really nice road bike, and I'd like to have it as a really nice road bike. So, you know, definitely need to look at something that I'm more comfortable absolutely dogging the piss out of. We'll put it that way. And yeah, for the road though, this might disappoint some people, because I know lots of people don't like the V-Strom looks wise, or for whatever dumb reason, but I bought this bike for me. I bought it for daily use, and I really, really like this bike, and I have no intention of changing it anytime soon. I really don't. It's a fantastic daily bike, and I genuinely think you'd be hard to beat it. You know, maybe one of the newer V-Stroms or whatever else, but from an actual like cost versus what you get ratio, I think you'd find it hard to beat this thing out on the Meerkat. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that little video. I don't know how long this was. I have no idea. Hopefully not too long. Let's check. yeah, it's not too bad for me. I think we did well. But yeah, if you watched, thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you have any other questions about why I like the kind of power and performance that I do on a road bike. Like I said, I'll try hopefully have kind of power torque curves and throw them up on screen, and maybe I'll do another video where I explain what all that means. But basically, if you get a bike that has 250 horsepower and revs to 15,000, but you only produce 16 horsepower, and this isn't a thing, but you only produce 16 horsepower until 12,000 RPM, I guarantee you most people would be using the 16 horsepower and never know. And they'd be like, well, yeah, the bike that's 250 horsepower, but I really like how it rides so smooth. They'd probably never know. Genuinely, I've seen that so many times. You know, people will be like, oh, you know, I ride Gixxer 1000, and you ride with them and you realize they never rev it past 8. Well, that would be the 750. You never rev it past 6, say. Still producing plenty of power. I'm not saying it's not, but you know, it's not producing what it produces at the top end, which is when things get hairy. So it is really a question of, you need to step back, look at what you use your bike for, look at what you actually want from it, and then be like, okay, I actually only want an 85 brake horsepower bike, but has a pretty flat torque curve and flat power curve. You know, that's kind of, you don't want something that's peaky. You just want something that's kind of flat, nice and progressive, that's easy and comfortable to ride on a daily basis. That's honestly what most people actually want. They just don't realize that's what they want. I think a lot of the time. Obviously, I'm generalizing, but yeah, like I said, if you watch, thank you very much for watching. If you want me to flesh this out in a further video, talking about engines and how different engines produce different power and whatnot, just let me know and I will do that. Maybe it might even help you make your decision what bike you want next. And yeah, well, until next time, thank you very much for watching. As always, a very special thank you to all of my patrons. I really do appreciate you all. You're all wonderful. I'm losing the lights, so I'm going to get home. And yeah, until next time, thank you again. Adios. Outro crew, if you could pick, I would say go listen to that High Side Low Side podcast. It was pretty good. They ramble a bit like me, which is fine, because I mean, I can't really judge, can I? But if you want to hear more moto content, as it goes, motorcycle content, give them a look up. I really like Zach. I've watched him for a long time. Spurgeon is more a recent addition to my watchy stuff since he came on the scene with the voice. But yeah, Zach and Ari, long time watcher of those guys, and I'm a big fan. Like, if it was a sunny day and you needed to keep cool, you would use me as a fan, because you'd be like, whoa, that guy's moving a lot of air. You know, he's I'm just getting too dumb here. But yeah, that's it. That's all I have. What do you think is your preferred power on the road? We'll put it that way. And why? You know, for me, like I said, I think like this is perfect. You know, would I like the 650? I think I prefer the that kind of hurt. I think I prefer the 1000 just because of the beef, and because, you know, I have a small penis. I prefer the 1000 for those reasons. Small penis and beef. What would you prefer on the road, power wise, bike wise? What do you ride on the road? Let me know. I'm interested now. Ooh. Bye, outro crew. Another little. Oh yeah, that counts. You know, I've heard a rumor, if you say it counts, then it counts. Bye, outro crew. For cereal this time. I'm going home. Goodbye.